What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Group Chat Football Live. I'm Peter Ariz alongside D Money, and this is our daily college football show talking the biggest news in the sport, recruiting, transfers, coaching movement, and everything else in between. We've been going through a bunch of programs here the last couple weeks and looking at 5 newcomers for each team that we're excited about. Today, we are talking about the Michigan Wolverines. And look, I like to say sometimes we don't always choose the highest rated prospects to look at here, D. But I don't know if it'd be very smart if we did this video without talking about quarterback Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, and look, we talk about Michigan in general. 4 first-round picks likely in the draft here coming up. We talk about what they've done, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, but also Colson Loveland at tight end. Michigan has not had consistent top 5 classes to be putting out this level of NFL talent. That just means they're evaluating at a high level and developing at a high level. So when you talk about Underwood, not only is he 1-1, but this is someone that they chose and targeted and said he's not only considered the best, he's the best for us. So I think the fact that Michigan went all in on a player like this when this is not necessarily their MO is very, very telling. You heard the early reports on Bryce Underwood. This is from Steve Wiltfong at On3. Speaking to sources at Michigan, he said Bryce Underwood has been tremendous. This is from Michigan staff. His work ethic, his maturity, his commitment to the process. He also played in the bowl practices for the ReliaQuest Bowl down here in Florida. Looked really good, just physically, his fluidity, his ability to throw on the run, all things that were highlighted by those who had a chance to observe practice. People talk about his hustle, his energy, and then look, we just watch the highlights. This guy's 6'4.5", 205 from Belleville, Michigan, number 1 overall, 100 ranking. Vince Young comps, but to me, I just love the fact that he's a winner, 10-2 as a senior. 2,500 yards, 32 touchdowns, 6 picks, 72% passer, ran for 600 and 6 more TDs. Player of the year as a junior. Again, the consistency of the production, the consistency of the team success, double-digit win season year after year after year. That's what you want to see if you're a Michigan Wolverines fan, because, there's a team that watched J.J. McCarthy as a first-round quarterback really limit what he could do and his potential stardom to execute the offense and win a championship. So if you're Michigan, yes, part of it is Bryce Underwood becoming a superstar player and going wire to wire, 1-1 recruit, 1-1 draft pick, but it's about how he's going to win at Michigan. I think everything you're hearing about his intangibles, everything you saw from high school suggests that not only is this guy super talented, he's a winner as well.
I guess the question is how soon do you see this happening? We saw last year, DJ Lagway, who was hyped up similarly. I would say Underwood's probably even more than that in terms of what his status was as a recruit, and he overtook Graham Mertz. There was obviously Mertz was injured, so that was a big part of it. But got Mikey Keene coming over from Fresno State as a guy who's played a lot of football, has put up some good numbers, and then Jaden Davis in his second year at Michigan as well. But I see this guy taking the reins at some point, probably mid-year.
Yeah, you got games at Oklahoma and Nebraska, so maybe that slows down the process. But to me, I agree with you, Pete. Let this guy roll. You have a solid veteran in Mikey Keene who can compete, probably give you more production than you had this year at quarterback when you were still a really solid team. But I think sooner or later, this guy's going to get a chance. Why not speed up the process? Let him make his mistakes early. Again, unless he's just not ready. But if it's close, I think the tie's got to go to Underwood. Just give him the reins and let him develop. No one's going to hold it against him if he loses against an Oklahoma or Nebraska on the road. He kind of gets his lumps there. This is a Michigan team that's, I don't want to say rebuilding, but they lost 4 first-round picks on top of everybody they lost the year before. On top of just some very important guys that they, like Khalil Mullings, guys like that they're not bringing back that aren't necessarily first-rounders. So I think everybody understands this is somewhat of a transitional year. So might as well start that transition early so you can compete for championships sooner or later with this exceptional player.
Now let's look at someone who he could be throwing the ball to. I shouldn't say could. He will be throwing the ball to this guy, and that's wide receiver Andrew Marsh, coming out of Texas, top 20 player in the state of Texas, top 15 player, or top 15 wide receiver in the country, I should say. When I watch this guy's tape, I love the way he attacks the football when it's in the air.
Yeah, physical body. Listed at 6'1", 175. I think he's going to be bigger than that. It certainly plays bigger than that as far as his power. Number 16 receiver on the composite. This is again from Steve Wilfong on 3, talking to people at Michigan. They said that Andrew Marsh is going to be high end for us. It was the first young player kind of reference when they did that report on guys that are there. You see him jumping up for the ball. This is a big time jumper, big vertical and broad numbers in the combine setting. High jump 6'4" as a junior, also a 400-meter runner. So you know he's got toughness and endurance. From Full Shear, Texas, near Houston. Texas players have been just really getting better. I mean, Texas has always been known for football, but the last 5 years or so, I think Texas, maybe 10 years even, Texas has really, really made a jump, particularly this area near Houston. You know, after Hurricane Katrina, a lot of people moved to this area and had a ton of success, kind of rebuilding their lives, and a lot of that, staying in the area. So a lot of these guys from that area, I'm not saying this is the case with Marsh, but just in general, there's a big jump in talent from this area, and Marsh has got all the physical tools. I mean, look at him in the red zone. This is where he could be super deadly, to just carry on that tradition of really, really good Houston area talent.
Yeah, and he just looks like a guy who's going to come in and attack it, right? Like I don't think that there's going to be much of a learning curve for him. Look, there is with everyone, but I think the physical standpoint, he checks those boxes off, which for him, I think probably would be the biggest leap.
Yeah, no doubt. He's going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. But that vert, I think the big hands you can see on tape, the ability to go up and get the football. This is a team that's not known necessarily for dynamic receiver play, but when you sign the number 1 quarterback in the country, number 1 player in the country, I think you expect to open it up a little bit. Again, they had J.J. McCarthy and didn't throw as much, and he was a first-round pick. Obviously worked out very well for them. So I'm not saying Underwood is going to be setting freshman records or setting records in general, but I do think, you get a guy like Marsh with the idea that he is going to be part of a pretty prolific combination with a Bryce Underwood, or maybe even a Mikey Keene starting this season.
Now flipping over to the other side of the ball, talking about a guy here who, man, from a physical standpoint, he's really just pops out. Big defensive back, Shamari Earles out of Chester, Virginia, plays both sides of the ball, as you'll see here in his highlights, and has the ability to take it the distance when he gets the ball in his hands. So you love to see those ball skills, but again, the size is what really jumps out at me here.
Yeah, top 100 players, 6'2", 180. Like you said, he's huge. But, man, this guy is so explosive. You look at the track and field numbers, 23 and 10.75 inches in the long jump. That is super explosive. 6'2" in the high jump. He ran the 55 as well, so he's got short area speed, 6'3", 1080 in the 100. Big time.
Look at this, four broken tackles on this play right here.
I mean, the track stuff is just, it keeps going. 21.78 in the 200 meters. He ran the 110 hurdles as well. So, he's just a consummate athlete with size, and then turn on the tape and it's functional as well. I mean, as you see him just kind of dust everybody here, breaking tackles, and then now it's track time. This is where he's comfortable. As we see that 10.8 speed. Top 100 player, so it's not like this guy's a diamond in the rough, but I think he might be one of those that you go back and you see him in the combine, tear the roof off, and you say, man, this guy kind of, look, Michigan gets guys in this range that are like mid to high 4 stars that end up being elite players. And yes, that's good recruiting, but that's also the evaluation and development, because their 4 stars turn into first-round picks. It's not only, stacking 5 stars. They don't have those kind of classes where they just have 3 or 4 5 stars every single year. It's a lot of solid 4 stars who they've identified with NFL talent and who live up to it. And this guy, to me, seems like he has a chance. Needs to see how he develops as a pure corner. He does a lot of different things there in Virginia, but man, you could see him developing into one of those Michigan defenders you're talking about day 1 of the draft. Yeah,
and finally we get some defensive stuff here, because everything in the beginning there was offensive. You see him track the ball there. You see this length, see that press coverage there. Again, ball skills, way to track the ball there. I mean, I think this is a day 1 player.
Yeah, look, corner's about traits and technique. So the traits are there. Now it's about whether they can get the technique, like Will Johnson, who has unreal just polish. Can you get him like that with a couple of years of development? I think if you do, the physical traits will be pretty tough to overlook.
All right, so that's it for the high school players in terms of newcomers to watch from Michigan. Let's get to a couple of these transfer guys, starting with someone who, when this news happened, it was really, really big because he was a huge recruit coming out and was the top running back, many would say, out of the portal, and that is transfer running back Justice Haynes from Alabama.
Yeah, this is a guy who originally is from Buford, Georgia, so a huge pull for Alabama in the first place to go to that powerhouse program in Georgia and pull this kid. 5'11", 210, lefty baseball player, was a hitter, also a pretty good pitcher as well. So dual sport guy coming out of high school, and he came to Alabama and he produced. I mean, you look at his freshman year, played a little bit, but then a huge jump as a sophomore. 448 yards, 5.7 yards per carry in the SEC, 7 touchdowns, long at 85. So, he was productive in the either the first or the second toughest league in the country. We'll find that he's joining the other league here, which has a claim to that throne in the Big Ten. But I think if you're Michigan, you lose Khalil Mullings. Obviously, had Blake Corum a couple years ago. You are a program that since Jim Harbaugh took over, and really way before then, you've been built on having bell cow backs that are going to get you in good field position, control down and distance, control the game, have explosive ability, but really have reliability. And I think Justice Haynes brings that element to Michigan. They've recruited some nice young players as well. They're going to push Haynes. But I think Haynes is just a sure thing. You know what you're going to get. He's going to average over 5 yards a carry, most likely. He's going to be durable. He's going to be able to handle a workload, and he's going to run tough. So this is an important piece, particularly if you're building around Bryce Underwood and you want to have the stability of a reliable back to hand off to. Justice Haynes is just what the doctor ordered.
So looking at another transfer from a big-time program, and that's Tre Williams, transfer defensive lineman, coming over from Clemson. This is a guy you talk about. You can't have enough body types like this with some production, coming in as a veteran on the defensive line, which, we love those guys. But you see the picture. There's a big boy. He can eat a lot of space up and has some athleticism to pair with that as well.
Yeah, look, you're not going to replace Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. These are first-round defensive tackles, right? You're not going to get those guys in the portal, most likely, because they are such high-value commodities, and you're not going to really pull some sleepers to get those guys. I mean, Grant was a very good evaluation, and development, but really, those guys are just rare. So you hope to develop them through high school, through good evaluation, through good recruiting. What I think Tre Williams brings to the equation, and you could say the same thing about Payne, who they brought in from Alabama. Both of those guys are big, experienced bodies that can help you stop the run. They're not going to give you the pass rush and the overall dynamic ability of a Kenneth Grant or a Mason Graham, who is himself a highly ranked player out of California. But you're going to have size. You're going to have age. Look at Tre Williams. He's from Washington, D.C. He's entering his 6th season of college football. 6'3", 305. As a high school junior, when he was already 306 pounds, ran a 4.8 shuttle, so he has some quickness. 16 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a pair of sacks last year. But again, I think here it's really about age. It's about body type, and it's about experience. And you put him next to Payne, you got 2 really big. It's about Damon Payne from Alabama. It's about 2 really big, experienced run stuffers.
We're excited, man, about Michigan next year. Obviously, wasn't a great year last year, but understood it was going to be different coming off that national championship, trying to figure out the quarterback spot. Is Bryce Underwood going to be the guy right away? We'll see. But obviously, we're very, very excited about him here at Group Chat Sports. Michigan fans, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed content like this. We'll have your team covered all spring long, talking about position battles, guys who are impressing in practice, and much, much more on the recruiting front as well. So keep it locked here on Group Chat Football, Group Chat Sports. Hit that like, subscribe, and thank you all for watching today.